Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another episode of Dude and a Monkey, as once again we take you to the outer reaches of the Dude and a Monkey universe, also known as the Damn You. It is a place where dudes are monkeys, monkeys are dudes, and Die Hard isn't considered a Christmas movie. It's considered a Friday night at 8 p.m. in your favourite chair with 4 bottles of ale and a steak and onion sandwich movie. My name's Noel, your host for the show, and that means only one thing. It means we are in Dude and a Monkey and a Mank mode to play it forward. And as ever, I am joined in this endeavour by...
Matt Foster, hello everybody.
And...
Ian, the only person who thought the Florida project was a bit shit Loring.
All controversial opinions all the time.
Like, literally, I couldn't find a single review on Letterboxd that was less than 3 stars, and I gave it 1.5.
The thing is when you mentioned it as well, I was like, oh yeah, I've heard it's like the best film ever. And then I noticed that you put it on Facebook, and other people whose opinions I actually value, and there's not many of those people out there, were saying, oh no, actually, I thought it was really good. So I was like, oh, yeah, like maybe Ian is wrong.
Dan was like, it's my second favourite film of the year. And considering some of the things I was saying about people who like the Florida Project on WhatsApp, it's like, Dan is not one of those people in the fucking slightest. So, I don't know. Maybe it caught me in a bad mood. I don't know. But I didn't find, apart from Willem Dafoe, I found no one watchable in that film. And I just wanted to call social services for the entire runtime. So yeah, like, just no. I don't know. We'll talk about it some more on the regular show next week. Anyway.
Okay, so if you don't know what Play It Forward is all about, essentially once in a while I give these two a night off hosting duties. We all gift each other a movie that we think the other will enjoy for some reason, whilst also furnishing their iTunes collection with a shiny new bauble of some description in the process. And this time around, I have gifted Mark. Mark has gifted Ian, and Ian has gifted me. And so each giver will introduce their reasons for gifting the film before handing over to the receiver, who offers his thoughts thereon. Before we crack on, is there anything that's happened in the world of film that you need to get off your chest?
No, I think it's been a relatively quiet kind of week or so, hasn't it?
This week,
I don't think there has been any sex pest this week, which is strange for us to go an entire week without someone being outed as being a bit of a touchy-toucher. Yeah.
Unwanted cuddle. No unwanted cuddles.
No unwanted cuddles.
No
massages. No plant pots defaced with executive semen.
I did notice that apparently House of Cards will continue, but with Robin Wright as the lead, which I think is, I wouldn't say it's great news because I'm a huge Kevin Spacey fan, but it's kind of the best news that you can have, I guess. So I guess Spacey's career is over.
Yeah, it's not looking good, that, is it?
No. Okay, well, if there's no news, then go on.
No, I was just going to say I finished episode 2 of Mindhunter today, and that show is very good, and I enjoy watching it with my eyes.
Mindhunter?
Yes.
Sorry, you cut out just for a second. Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
A fine show. Oh, so you finished it then?
Oh no, I watched episode 2. I'm only just going down the path. Like, it takes me a long time to watch TV.
Yeah, it does for me too. But don't rush it, because when it's gone, you'll be gutted. So there's no rush. Don't binge it. It deserves better than that.
That's what I'm doing with it. I'm doing it roughly every week at the moment. I'm trying to do it kind of like that, rather than just sort of, like you say, powering through it and then going, that's that then.
Yeah, I don't get that. And I mean, we've kind of touched on this before, but it's even like, like the Punisher being on now. I think I'm probably on maybe episode 4 of the Punisher, I think. And it's like, that show's been out for a couple of weeks, and I'm sure everybody else has smashed their way through it in a day or so, but where's the fun in that? Like, it's just let it wash over you a little bit.
Yeah, I prefer to do that especially with new watches. It's a little bit like you can end up. I think if you watch too much of it together, it starts becoming an episodic, and it just becomes one thing. And a lot of these shows aren't made to be watched like that.
I think you just become a little bit numb to it as well. I mean, I always remember. I think, funnily enough, it was House of Cards. I think season 3. It's one of the few times that I've binged watched something. And I remember being pissed off with myself afterwards because I really like that show and I always have. But when the season ended, I was kind of like, well, I didn't really absorb any of it because I was just smashing through it and sort of, getting up and going to the toilet and sort of leaving it on in the background and then making something to eat and just like picking up my phone. And I wasn't really, I wasn't engaging and absorbing it. It was just popcorn. I was just smashing it into my mouth and not really tasting anything. So, yeah, man, just take your fucking time, man. Take your time. It's a very well paced show as well. So I don't think you're going to get anything out of smashing through it for the sake of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And season 2 has been greenlit. So apparently season 2 was greenlit before season 1 was even out there. But so yeah, Netflix have obviously got confidence in it. So that's good.
Solid shit.
Good stuff. Okay, well, moving back on to playing it forward then. As I say, I've gifted Mark, Mark's gifted Ian, and Ian has gifted me. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Mark, first. Would you like to take us through your choice for Ian and why?
My choice was Unforgiven for Ian. The reason being is I often sort of pick up with Ian when we're doing the show and things like that, and I'll mention something that I've watched. Often sort of rewatches for me because me and Ian tend to watch a lot of the same new stuff because we're watching it for the show. So it'll be sort of rewatches that I've watched, and if he's saying, "Oh, I've never seen that," I'll put that in a little bit of a bank in my brain and go, "Oh, okay, there's that." And if it's something that I think that he'd like or he'd find interesting, I'll go, "Right, well, there's a thought for playing it forward." And then when the 4K Apple TV came out, I thought, right, well, I've got to coincide that with this. It makes sense if I gift something that Ian's going to get to enjoy in 4K and have it there. So it shortened my remit quite nicely, which also is quite nice because it means that I haven't got a whole plethora of films to choose from. I've got this amount of films to choose from. And I looked at it and thought, Unforgiven. I'm sure Ian mentioned that he hadn't seen Unforgiven. Asked him and he was like, yeah, and I just thought that it's kind of a lot of the times you get these perceived movies that are perceived kind of classics and it's assumed that people have seen them. Well, everybody has. I don't think it's like a couple of these sort of blind spots. It just becomes a film where you go, well, yeah, I know that's great, so I'll get to it at some point. And you keep waiting to get to it and waiting to get to it. And the thing about Unforgiven is I've always thought it's a very, very, very good film, and it is actually a great film. But also, well, I do think that it's a harder sell of a film to come to unless you are a very big Western fan. It's straight away. First of all, it's for start, it's in excess of 2 hours long. It's got a reputation of being a very heavy-going movie, etc. And it's a little bit, I suppose, like it's now like it was when I was sort of getting into westerns or getting into films in sort of like the early 90s. It's what the Wild Bunch was then. It's you're taking on something that is perceived to be fantastic, and you're going, well, what happens if I don't think it's fantastic? Do I really want to fucking cross that bridge? And it's something that you always look at and go, I'm going to get to that. I can always get to that. And I think that sometimes a nudge to get to it can be quite nice. So that's why I gifted Ian Unforgiven. Plus, I thought, it's a Western, it's going to look fucking nice in 4K.
Yeah, and it does, to be fair. Yeah. The 4K really gets the kind of the graininess going on with it well as well. So yeah, I would very much recommend watching it in 4K. And I think you're right, Mark. It is a sense of I will get to it. and also, frankly, it's 2 hours 10 minutes long,
Mm.
and it's just like I have to make an effort to be able to watch a film that's over 2 hours if it's not in the cinema these days. You know, like I'm fucking tired a lot, and so it's trying to get yourself in that mind frame. So one of the things I appreciate about playing it forward is the fact that I am like, it's not like, right, let's get this over with. It's right, I need to get this watched. I'm going to dedicate the time to get this watched. And yeah, I mean, it's a cracking film. There were aspects of it that weirded me out, like the fact that you could look at Gene Hackman's character and just think he's actually just kind of being a good sheriff. Like, he doesn't want any guns in his town. And yeah, he, you can understand the provocation that leads Clint Eastwood to like his like final acts in the film, but I thought he was an interesting character, and I think this is on purpose, in a way, more relatable to that than William Money. I was very, very involved in his carpentry. Like I wanted to see him make a success of that house, and I was kind of gutted that he didn't. But I really like that detail about it, that he's the big man around town that even though he's fucking up his house, no one really has the heart to tell him, and not even so much that they're afraid to, but because they just kind of don't want him to be disappointed almost. It's just like, yeah, you go and make your house, you shit at it, but good on you. And so I don't know, it's that kind of little flavour there that I really quite enjoyed about it. And I mean, like, obviously the kind of the whole thing with Unforgiven, that it is basically like a revisionist western, and it's it's Clint Eastwood as a alternate version of the man with no name who's like having to live with shit he's done in his past or something. But almost like an evil version of the man with no name. And I don't know. There was something about the film that didn't quite grab me as much as I thought it was going to. But maybe it was because I didn't actually know an awful lot about it going in. And it's got a very particular mood. And, the whole, like, Richard Harris in it early on is, he takes up quite a lot of screen time early on in the film, but his character is almost there to show kind of how much of a weirdly complicated badass, but also quite good sheriff, but also a little bit malevolent Gene Hackman actually is. And I don't know. I think maybe I need to hear some other thoughts on it. I very, very, very much liked it, and I'm glad it's in my collection. I just can't quite put my finger on why it's not a 5-banger.
Okay. It's been I remember being a huge fan of it. I lived with a huge Clint Eastwood and Western fan at the time, and so had seen it many times, but it's been a really long time. So I don't know, my opinion on it hasn't changed, but that's because it's been a while since I've seen it. I didn't get time to rewatch it, unfortunately, before this, but I totally get what you're saying. It's not, the mood of the film is not one that you would automatically, if you hadn't seen it by this point, you're not going to go, oh, right, yeah, stick that on. So I need to watch that right now. So I think it's good to have been gently pushed in that way. But Mark, what's your sort of feelings on it then? Someone who's probably seen it more recent than I have.
I mean, because it had been a number of years since I watched it, probably about 10 years since I'd watched it, and then I watched it last week, and it's very. The thing is, I think that I remembered it, and I think maybe I don't know whether this is correct, but what might influence or feel a little bit off with it with Ian is it's actually, there's a bit more levity to it than you'd think, and a bit more, I don't want to say lightness, but it's not quite as dark and as heavy as you kind of expect it to be, or as I remember it being. I always remember it being quite an oppressive movie and quite a bleak movie, and it only gets to that point towards what's kind of essentially these badass fucking cowboys that were so feared and that had a notoriety to them. The ones that didn't fucking die, that weren't shot or by law enforcement or weren't shot by themselves or etc., then they descended into old age, and being a cowboy in old age is one thing. Being an outlaw in old age is a very different thing, and they're all going to have mellowed. And the fact that he quite simply says that he doesn't actually remember doing all of the things he did, because the majority of the time it was just that he was drunk, and that kind of clouded his judgment, etc. And then as it goes on, it starts to be, as you get towards the sort of finale, you find that it's not that. He's just kind of chosen to forget who he is. And I don't think it's an act. It's just that it's his way of shutting down and not being who he is by basically pushing against it. But then the minute he can go into it, he can go quite easily back into it. It's just, I think that he knows that once he's gone into it, that he probably can't come back out of it again. That his wife was his redemption, and that he has to battle to do that. And the minute he gives up that battle, that's it. He goes back to being, essentially, to put it in a Western term, to being a wicked man. Whereas Morgan Freeman's character, he can switch it on and off. Whereas you get the feeling that there's more to it with Eastwood's character. And Gene Hackman's character, you're completely right. He is just, he's not actually doing anything that fucking wrong. He is kind of doing his job in what he's doing, but he wasn't doing his job in what he was doing when he essentially he does let the ranchers off a little bit easy for what they've done, and it's kind of he's made a choice that he doesn't even maybe agree with, but he thinks it's what's best for the town, if that makes any sense at all. And it's kind of then he's got to ensure that that's it. It can't become a place for these people to go. He needs to keep an element of purity to his town, otherwise somebody's going to come along that he can't deal with, and that's essentially what ends up happening.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I suppose it was just the fact that I don't know. I mean, maybe it says something more about me, but I just figured it was going to be like Eastwood versus Hackman, the great battle. And it's not, it's Eastwood. Sorry, go on.
I do think though that's that now going into it, watching it 25 years later, I do think that is how it's kind of built. And the other thing to take into account there is, at the time, Eastwood as a director wasn't considered the level he is now. He was considered a director who made a few kind of westerns and a few other films, but they were kind of like, they were essentially Tuesday night action movies was the best way to describe them. And he'd had moderate success, but never any real kind of critical success as a director. And then Unforgiven was kind of him going back to, to westerns for I think the first time since maybe The Outlaw Josie Wales, which I think was his, which was mid-70s. So it was a big kind of step, and it was kind of like, well, Eastwood doing a fucking western, and it meant something. And now he's had a lot of success and a lot of critical success as a director, and he's had some missteps as a director, but I do think this was kind of like, holy fuck, this he's not just a guy who can direct, he's a guy who can direct.
Yeah, which is 100% absolutely fair enough, and it does absolutely feel like his last word on them. Like it's not a surprise that even like westerns just haven't been that fashionable over the last couple of decades. But you kind of feel like even if they were, he probably wouldn't have done one because he said what he wanted to say with this. And I thought it was interesting that he doesn't go out in a blaze of glory or anything like that. It is just like essentially he just kind of becomes legend again, and he like takes up business arms instead of fighting arms. And you've just got that text at the end, and there's something quite haunting about that though. That text saying that like his deceased wife's mother came to like visit, but they were gone, and she just forever wondered why her daughter married a known criminal. It's just like that weird kind of like I don't know, just a tale lost in the wind kind of thing. Like just this. There's this kind of melancholy about the whole thing, really. But even that at the end, like the ending is in a way a happy ending. He kind of avenges his friend and he gets out. But then you have that text at the end, and I don't know. It just it kind of makes it more sorrowful.
Eastwood said about that he wanted to make it clear that she was the most important character in the entire movie, but you never see her.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean that you with the opening crawl and the end crawl, and like just she's always in his mind. She is forever in his mind throughout every single action that he takes in the film. I got to ask though, the guy who plays the kid, do I not recognise him from anything because he was so shit in this that no one ever cast him in anything ever again?
He is in. What else is he in?
James Wolvett, and he's probably not hired very often because of the stupid way he spells James.
Dead Presidents.
Dead Presidents.
Is the other thing that I recognised him from.
But it's the most generic. I'm a kid and I'm hard as nails, but shit, I have to kill someone and now I'm scarred. And I mean, I get what the character is trying to say, but I don't know. He's either cocky or suffering from PTSD, and it's like I don't know. It's one or the other throughout the entire fucking film. And when it's him acting with Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman for most of his scenes, he does not have a chance.
He's very much out of his depth, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean that's it. I don't know. I mean, maybe they thought he was a bit of an up and comer at the time. I don't know. I mean, like if Unforgiven was made 5 years ago, maybe Taylor Kitsch would be in that role. Or fucking one of the Hemsworths.
It would be Nobody Cares Hemsworth.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh no, wait.
I think his first name is not Thor.
Yeah, there's Nobody Cares Hemsworth. There's not Chris Hemsworth, and there's Chris Hemsworth.
I thought they were just both called Not Thor.
Have they been downgraded now?
Yeah, I think it's just when everybody talks about them, they go, you know that Hemsworth. Which Hemsworth? Not Thor. Yeah, I know what you mean. One of those other interchangeable ones that isn't Thor. The poor guys. It's like being a Baldwin and not being Alec, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all cunts though. even Alex is a cunt.
Side note though, I just checked because I was curious about when this falls in Gene Hackman's career. Because it feels like he retired a long time ago to me, but I mean, he retired kind of, his last film was 2004, but just looking at his career, he's one prolific motherfucker. Especially throughout his career, really, but in the 1990s, around this, he did 3 films in 1990, 2 films in 91. He just did The Unforgiven on its own in 92. Then 1993, 2 films. 1994, 1 film. 1995, 1, 2, 3 films. 1996, 1, 2, 3 films. 1997, 1 film. 1998, 3 films. 2000, 2 films. And then in 2001, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films.
And the thing is, as well, he's not got small roles in all those either.
Not really, no.
You know, they're quite big roles.
And if you go through all of the films as well, there's not many. There's not many you've not heard of. So, Unforgiven, The Firm, Wyatt Earp, Quick and the Dead, Crimson Tide, Get Shorty, The Birdcage, Extreme Measures, Absolute Power, Twilight. What? Oh, no, something else. And State, The Replacements, The Mexican, Heartbreakers, Heist, Royal Tenenbaums, Behind Enemy Lines, Runaway Jury, and Welcome to Mooseport. So, I mean, they're all... He's no fucking slouch, is he? I mean, Jesus. Apart from maybe Welcome to Mooseport, but I bet that's something
you leave that alone.
You like, and I knew it'd be something you like.
I own that on iTunes.
Of course you do.
Yep. Yes, you do.
I bought it for $7.99.
Don't
It's
you
Gene
fucking dare ever give me that on this. Sorry.
Welcome to Mooseport. It's a good film.
Don't you fucking dare.
Yeah.
It's got Ray Romano in it.
I won't redeem the code, Mark.
You just let it linger there. From the director of Miss Congeniality, to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay, fab. So
Unforgiven,
that's Unforgiven. And Ian, is it something that you would pay for? Is it something that you would recommend to someone who hasn't seen it?
Oh fuck yeah, man. I'm absolutely. I 100% recommend. It's really really good. I'm comfortable with my 9 out of 10 rating because it is really really good. It's not quite there.
I bet that opening great scene looks fantastic in 4K, doesn't it? With his silhouette at the top.
God, yeah. No, absolutely, it does.
Grand. So if you've not watched it, watch it and watch it in 4K if you can. If you're one of those futuristic motherfuckers, unlike me and Mark. Okay, so moving on from Unforgiven, from Ian. Ian, you picked for me this time round, so why don't we take that natural next step and you can talk us through your reasons for doing so.
So I picked Guy Ritchie's The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Now, basically, because I really like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and I kind of want an excuse to watch it again. And I already owned it in 4K. And Noel likes his Ritchie, and I thought he'd appreciate the humour. I thought he'd appreciate the style. I thought he'd appreciate the scene with Henry Cavill just chowing down while watching Armie Hammer out on that boat. And yeah, I thought he would get into what this film was throwing out there. It came out 2 years ago. I think I've already watched it 4 times.
Wow.
I find it a very, very good just kick back and watch good-looking people look good and be classy and be quite funny. And I just wanted to give Noel a good time because I think the previous one I gave him was the Greasy Strangler. So, like I felt I owed him. So, Noel, did it pay off?
Well, we're in a similar situation to the Greasy Strangler here in some respects, in that you've selected a film that's made me angry. Now, the reason I'm angry this time around is it's pretty clear we're not getting a sequel to this.
Yeah.
And there are a million other films out there that will get sequels that don't deserve one. And why am I not getting a sequel to The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? I'm not familiar with the show, with the TV show. The only thing I know about it is that Robert Vaughn was in it, and it was on TV a lot when I was a kid, but it always seemed kind of boring. So I had no idea about the setup, the idea that it was, a CIA agent and a KGB agent working together for the British government. So I had no idea that was the direction necessarily that it was going. So no familiarity with the show or the setup, really. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of James Bond. I like spy movies. I like thrillers. I like action spy movies, action thrillers. I love all that type of thing. I've never been much of a James Bond fan, really. I've tried, but I'm just not that bothered. And I think for me, this gets a lot of things right that maybe a modern Bond film wouldn't. It remembers to have fun doing things. And I think the thing is, and Ian, you mentioned sort of Guy Ritchie. I do like Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie comes in for a lot of shit, and I've got no idea why. Like, I've really genuinely got no idea why it is that people, are down on him as a director. It makes no sense to me. I think possibly people would level the style over substance accusation at him. I think his films always look great. I think they always look really smoothly put together. I think they do have a little bit of style in them, but I don't necessarily see why that's such a bad thing. I think we celebrate some directors for their authorship and their style, but then these other ones over here, no, we don't celebrate those because they used to go out with Madonna. Like that. Yeah.
But that's it. It literally is. Mm-hmm. If you look at the films of his that are most derided, it is literally the Madonna years.
Yeah.
And chiefly the one she was in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Which I've never seen and I never will. But
I have seen it. It's not that bad. It's not good. It's not that bad. I've seen a lot fucking worse.
Well, it's kind of, the thing is as well is it's kind of made me it's made me more interested in the potential for a Sherlock Holmes 3. I don't think that will necessarily happen. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's made me want to get a move on and watch King Arthur because I didn't get to see that in cinemas, and I will definitely watch that. And in terms of rewatch value, Ian, I totally get it. You could put this on any time and slip right into it.
Yep.
It's funny. It's witty. It's smart. It's not. It's a smart spy movie. It's not. It's not The Singing Detective, but it's not dumbed down. There is something happening there that you need to follow. It's fun. It's got plenty of decent action sequences in. It opens with a really strong action sequence. Pretty much with the car chase, and then the stuff around the track later on as well. I think the thing that it wasn't that I was quite surprised about was I thought it might have been slightly more of a not a parody, but sort of done a bit more tongue in cheek. I think there are elements of particularly Henry Cavill's performance which are a little bit sort of gee whiz 1960s sort of period glee, but I don't think it's such a bad thing. It feels kind of genuine, it feels kind of nice, and it really suits his character.
I think
but it doesn't feel like it's taking the piss.
It seems like it's just because things come this easy to him. Yeah. He just can't take the piss because everything just comes quite easy to him.
And it's easy to see in this, this is a film where I can see what I don't like putting myself in these shoes, but I can kind of see what Zack Snyder would see in an actor like this as a potential Superman. He is effortlessly charming. He is smart and he's witty, but he feels strong and he feels, he's very present. There's a smoothness to him, a kind of, debonair air to him, if you like, but he also feels like he can handle himself and rough it up if he needs to. And it's probably his best Superman performance yet, even though
that's a good way
he's in a slightly different suit. And that's it. The whole package is a smooth, elegant package. And yes, parts of it look like they came straight out of GQ magazine, but I like the pictures in GQ magazine, and I like looking at people who are effortlessly more stylish and more attractive than I'll ever be for a while. It's absolute escapism, and it's got genuine moments of glee in it as well. So I mentioned the opening chase sequence, Ian, that sequence that you mentioned with where Armie Hammer's character is like scooting around the bay, and Henry Cavill has been thrown from the boat, swims to the shore, and Armie Hammer's being chased around in this intense speedboat chase by the bad guys, and he's just Henry Cavill's just climbed up into a truck and found a nice lunchbox with a bottle of wine and a nice sandwich, which he slowly puts together, and just he puts a napkin on and just puts the radio on. He's just sat there while his bedlam's going on in the background. But you sat there watching it, and just after a few seconds, you kind of go, "Oh, I see what they're going to do here. Let's just sit and watch this for a bit." And you don't get the joke doesn't get tired. You just go, "No, I'm just going to sit here and watch this for a bit. I'm all right with this. This can go on for as long as it needs to. I'm okay with that."
It's just the fact that he's just going around in a circle that I think is the funniest thing about it. He can't even go anywhere. I don't know. There's just something about that tickles me. And then it's there's no show of emotion whatsoever. It's fuck it, right? I'm gonna sort this out. Then he just drives the van into the fucking into the water. It's just, I don't know.
It's the least elegant rescue possible. Really, just sort of clatters into it. There's moments of I had a look around online to see, because I wasn't entirely sure what the feelings were about this. And a couple of reviews that I happened upon. The Guardian review was very down on it and sort of said that there was absolutely no chemistry between the two leads. I could not agree more. They both felt like two sides of sort of the same coin, but two very different sides. And I enjoyed watching them rub up against each other in the smallest way, whether it was Henry Cavill's character realizing that Armie Hammer's character had something, had his eye on Alicia Vikander and sort of ribbing him a little bit gently for that and recognizing that, whether it's moments like that or it's just, these two very different people having a sartorial disagreement about whether or not a Pierre Cardin belt's going to go with a certain dress. You're just like,
amazing.
Really? All right, this is fine, yeah. So yeah, it looks immaculate. I do think that the two leads are very strong together. I think in the past, I've not seen Henry Cavill in much apart from in his Superman role. I've only really seen Armie Hammer in The Social Network, I think. I've never been overly fond of either of them. I've always thought that outside of those roles, I would probably find them a bit drab, and that maybe they wouldn't have the presence to carry a film or lead a film. But this film proves that completely wrong. I think they're both incredibly charismatic. I think they're sharp here as well. Sorry, Claire's just come to get another glass of Prosecco. And I think this has completely flipped that around. I would gladly watch this again. I'm sad that it kind of sets up that sequel. I think if you gave me a choice and you said you can have a Bond sequel, you can have a Bourne sequel, or you can have an Uncle sequel, I'd snatch the Uncle sequel out of your hand like a steak and onion sandwich.
Nice.
Magnificent, yeah. And I don't rewatch much. I've said that many times before. I don't rewatch films very often. I will definitely rewatch this. It's the type of film that I think if I have a bit of spare time over Christmas and I'm looking for something just to throw on, even that soon, I'd definitely rewatch it because it's a nice film to spend time with. Yeah. Happy to have it in the collection.
I'm very, very pleased with this. I remember the reviews that came out about it at the time. And, like Mark and I were both a bit like, all right, well, let's see what this is about then. And then,
because I hated the trailers, and I hated all of the what is it to it, but you really wanted to see it, and I was like, right, no, do you know what? No, just because I don't want it, what is it? You really want to see it? Let's watch it, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I think that's my fourth watch as well.
Yeah, man.
I think people sometimes get put off. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think people sometimes get put off by things like, the cool music and the lines across the screen and the sort of split screen thing do it. Because, we've seen that a few times, but it feels nice and it's smooth and it adds something. Don't just automatically write these things off.
Well, the weird thing, I think what's correct what you were saying about Guy Ritchie is, I think it's been easy to kind of forget that Guy Ritchie knows his fucking cinema. Like, really knows his cinema, and he's a flashy director, and he's a director who has a lot of style, and like you said, I think there's a lot of substance in this film as well. I think his style reflects it, and also I think weirdly, that the inflections and the style elements that are kind of littered upon it are fun, but they're not the best parts of the movie. Whereas often, or they're not the most striking parts of the movie, where you can sometimes get that from certain directors. Like a lot of the time, a lot of stylish moments are the standout moments from Edgar Wright movies, and that's not a bad thing. But then with this, the standout moments for me are the bit in the bay, which is just fantastic. It was one of my scenes of that year, and the scene in it where Alicia Vikander tells Armie Hammer that she's going to drink the rest of the bottle of vodka, and is seen behind him dancing away wearing the oversized sunglasses.
That's solid.
He's fantastic, and I think it was that moment where, because Alicia Vikander did a lot this year in 2015, where it was like, right, she's not just a pretty face, she's got an actual quite amount of personality as well. That's quite fucking cool.
I mean, just from the start, that opening car, well, I say car chase, it's car versus human. And just the way that, like, Henry Cavill was like, it tore the back off my car.
It's the fact that he says, he doesn't say he says, it tore the back off my car.
Yeah, it just, like, that is, and the thing is, like, you totally get what he means, because it's just this hulking great Armie Hammer just coming at him, like, grabbing the back of the fucking car. I mean, it's, I don't know, it's fantastic. And like you say, sorry, go on.
There's a great line there where he says, what's he doing? He's like, he's trying to stop the car. He's trying to brake for the car. It's like, well, it's kind of working.
But it's those moments as well where he's sort of his delivery is not quite parody. It's just got a little bit of an edge, a little bit of an inflection to it that makes it feel a bit period. Just a little bit of a sort of just, I can't, he sounds like a character from a 60s TV show. And it's not over the top. It's just enough to give it that little style edge, I think.
It does seem like what he's done is he's got pissed and started watching Bond movies and has ended up watching Archer as he's got more and more drunk and gone, that works.
All day.
Yeah,
but you get the feeling that if he's got it turned up to, let's say, 6, he'd only have to crank it up to a 7 or an 8, and he'd be in sort of, he'd be in parody territory, and it would be too much. But he's just got the balance of it right, I think. And I mean, even Armie Hammer's character to a degree is very, very like straight up sort of Russian sort of thing. So he's doing the same thing really, but it's not overkill.
Yeah.
No,
the great moment of his character is when he's doing that, when he's lining up that hand slap to the side of the guy's head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he like do their hand on the other side. Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. No, and I mean, also, I mean, like we haven't at all talked about Elizabeth Debicki, who I think is a really, really interesting villain here. Like she looks great. Like the costume design in this film is incredible. But she's got that snake-like charm.
Yeah, she sort of glides across the room, doesn't she?
They've used her unusual physicality within the fact that she, I think she's taller than Henry Cavill and about the same size as Armie Hammer. So they've used that quite well without overtly going, look how tall she is for a woman.
But then, I mean,
she's Aisha in Guardians.
Yeah, that's right. The golden woman. Yeah. I mean, just like the image of like Henry Cavill like collapsing down, and I love as well. Like she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I've been in this situation before." It's just, I mean, that's fantastic. Just how cool he plays that.
Right, you've drugged me.
Yeah, it's like fair play.
I mean, you've drugged me. I get it. I might as well make the best of this. I'm just going to lie here and then off I go. Well, at least you went home with a clean pair of jogging bottoms, Ian. Anyway, back to the show.
Yeah.
And nobody will ever know.
So, the man from Uncle.
Yeah, I mean, it's definite recommend. Definite recommend. I will rewatch it again very soon.
Strong. Mark, I know your feelings on it.
Yeah, love it.
Grand. Okay, so we move from Ian's gift to me to my gift to Mark. So a little bit about the choice behind this movie. What I like to do with Mark, because I know a lot of the types of things that Mark likes, I try and find something within those. Areas and within those sort of genres that maybe he's not seen. And it is an incredible challenge because he's seen most of them. Now, one of those areas is the late 80s thriller or the late 80s, early 90s erotic thriller. And in my head, Jagged Edge has always been a late 80s thriller. With a sort of kind of romantic edge to it, partially because it features Glenn Close, but mainly because it's a film that I saw in the late 1980s on VHS, and I was quite young at the time, and it was one of those films that it was one of the first films that I saw, and it felt like a real grown-up film. It was a film that had a story and it had stuff going on in there that required, thought. And I don't know, it just felt like I remember seeing it back in probably about 88 on VHS and thinking, yeah, I've watched a proper grown-ups film there. But I also remember at the time it had a lot of good word around it. It was very much a word of mouth film. It seemed to get recommended quite a lot. It was nominated for an Oscar as well, and yet nobody ever really talks about it.
This was nominated for an Oscar.
It was nominated for an Oscar. I don't know what Oscar. Let's have a look. For Robert Loggia, Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Good man.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get on to Robert Loggia, definitely. But yeah, so it was also an opportunity for me to go back and rewatch it and kind of see if it held up. I was very keen to do that. It's a film with a strong cast. It's got a good little pedigree on it. And I figured Mark would definitely get something out of it for those reasons. So Jagged Edge, 1985. Mark, what do you think?
It was one where, as soon as you kind of mentioned it, I had a quick look to sort of. What I tend to do with these is I don't want to look too much into them. I don't watch the trailers or anything like that, because I think if I kind of look too much into them, I might find something where I go, that's why. But with this, I kind of read a little quick brief thing of the synopsis on IMDb, looked at the cast and went, fucking yes, I'm looking forward to that. Can't understand why I've never seen this movie, which is a mid-80s courtroom thriller with Jeff Bridges.
It's written by Joe Esterhaus, for fuck's sake. Like,
written by Joe
how have you not seen this?
Exactly.
Directed by the director of Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, as well.
So I was a little bit kind of like surprised with that. Right, all right, yeah, I can see why I should have seen this, because looking back on it, I think I've actually seen all of Joe Styles' other movies. Oh fuck, I think I have actually. Yeah, wow. I have terrible taste in movies. So yeah, I'm just looking at some of those films. And
have you seen Showgirls 2 Pennies from Heaven?
Pardon?
Have you seen Showgirls 2 Pennies from Heaven?
Of course I've seen Showgirls 2.
Okay.
But yeah, I've actually... I actually quite like Nowhere to Run. Sorry. Fucking hell. So yeah, so I was very much sort of looking forward to this, and I really enjoyed it. It's a really it's a really solid kind of. I think I watched it on a Sunday night, and it's a really solid Sunday night movie to watch, in the sense that it's you've got to pay enough attention to it to not be able to just let it wash over you, but you can kind of use it to kind of go, right, I'm relaxing out of this week, and I'm not going into next week too fucking tense. It kind of flows over you, and you get involved in the story, and it's the film you can kind of get yourself a little bit kind of lost in, and I enjoyed that about it, the fact that you've got to be paying enough attention to it to keep the story going. And also, it's back when Jeff Bridges was a proper leading man, which I think we've post Lebowski, which was 20 fucking years ago, which Lebowski was only 12 years after this, and Lebowski is now 20 years ago. So it's you kind of, I think we all see now that's what Jeff Bridges is, and the fact that he's very much embraced that kind of whistly blah, 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 blah. Where he's done the True Grit voice for like his past 10 roles. It's cool to go back and watch him when he was this quite kind of soft-spoken and dashing guy, and you can see how he could be the charismatic guy that he is here, where his chief skill that he's got is the fact that he's
slippery.
He's very good. Yeah, he's very seductive. He's got
very,
that.
very sneaky.
He's very, very sneaky. He's got that. He's got that charm to him within that, and I like the fact that I remember, guys, we're all spoilers all the time with this, and we are all spoilers all the time on here, aren't we?
Oh yeah, yep.
Because I'm going to spoil the end of it. I like the fact that it ends and he is the person who you think he's going to be. It's not. He's not a red herring. He's not a MacGuffin. He is that guy. And I think if this movie was made now, it wouldn't be. It'd be somebody else. It'd be Peter Coyote or something like that. They'd spin it round.
Did you get a touch of the De Palma about that ending?
Yeah. There is, and it's a film that's very influenced by when it was made, and it's Glenn Close is very good in it, and it's one of her early roles as well. I think this was actually kind of like her breakout role, and the role that kind of drew a lot of attention to her. And then obviously from this, she did Fatal Attraction, which obviously got her an Academy Award nomination, and she went on from there. But it is the role, I suppose, that you could say made Glenn Close, and she's gone on to have a very successful career since then. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one that I could see myself absolutely rewatching again, because unlike yourself, I rewatched quite a lot, and I'll definitely be rewatching this a lot. I enjoyed Robert Loggia's complete over the top performance in the fact that in the space of one scene he can go from fucking chewing Glenn Close's character out to them being sympathetic to her, literally in the same sentence.
He's got a couple of moments in this, and just generally speaking, I would love it if Robert Loggia just occasionally walked straight into my house and swore at me. Like he just walks into your house and goes, "What the fuck's the matter with you?" There's one moment where he walks in and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing set in the dark? You're playing with yourself?" And then there's the moment at the end as well. I can't remember the line now, but the line that he says to her where you think he's gonna, like, he puts his hand on her face, and like it's a real sort of moment. All this come crashing down, and she's done it again. She's put the wrong guy away, and the evil person has come after her, and she's had to kill him. And there's this moment where she's just absolutely distraught, and Robert Loggia comes in, puts his hand on her face, and you think he's going to sort of say, "You're okay, everything's going to be all right," and he just goes like, "Fuck it," something like that. He's like, "Yeah, fuck him." It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, great. Yeah, fuck him.
I also love the genericness of the tennis pro, in the fact that he is such a generic 80s sleazeball.
Oh, the one, the gigolo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much of that, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It's exactly what I hoped it was going to be.
Brilliant. It's nice to see Peter Coyote. He's not a bloody hell, Lance! I just remembered Lance Henriksen's in this.
Yes, Lance Henriksen plays a cop in it.
Yeah, he does not come back either, does he? I don't think.
No.
It's just that one.
No, he doesn't.
Wow. But yeah, Peter Coyote is an actor I'm not overly familiar with, really. He's been in a bunch of things, but only in, not bit parts. I mean, probably most people would know him from E.T., I guess, as the scientisty guy. But he's not a bit. He's kind of that guy. He's always kind of in the background, and he's in a film that I did for Adventures in VHS called Slayground, which is, if anybody has actually read that book, is a film that I was a huge fan of, and I've always been quite frustrated because it's not available anywhere. You can't get it.
And is that the one with Mel Smith?
That is the one with Mel Smith. Yeah,
I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't. When I did the book, it wasn't available on any other format. I don't know if it's become available since then. But it's a great film. It's a really odd film. It's a taut, tense kind of thriller, but then it shifts halfway through and just goes to a completely different place. And it's almost like two separate films, but both featuring Peter Coyote. And obviously the narrative carries across, and the main sort of protagonist carries across, but they're there's a kind of a shift. And it's nice to see him in something else now, because I always, when I see the name Peter Coyote, I immediately think of that film and that tragically underseen film. And yeah, I don't know, this feels like a kind of tragically underseen film, really, because I've not heard anybody mention it.
I think the reason why it's probably not mentioned is it's probably just got lost in that, in the kind of the slew of what happened post this, where you had Fatal Attraction, and then you had Basic Instinct and Jagged, and films like this all around that that took the a lot of the things that this teetered around in terms of the thriller that then sort of morphed into the erotic thriller that we got around kind of like the late 80s and the early 90s. And it's kind of, they became more popular through notoriety rather than Jagged Edge didn't quite have that element to it that those movies had, in the sense that they were often quite sexually graphic, I suppose is the best way to do it. They placed a more emphasis on the eroticism to it as they did on the thriller element, whereas this is just a thriller that happens to have those kind of inclinations. And let's say, had it been made 4 years later, it probably would have been a little bit more graphic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I think that's probably the reason why it's not quite, it's a forebearer for those movies, in the sense that it's not quite kind of actually moved on into that, is what I would say the reason why it's not spoken about as much. Incidentally, no, I think Slayground is actually available on DVD now.
Oh, is it? Oh, good.
Yes, it is. It is available on DVD, Prime, £6.39.
Oh, really? It needs to be. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's definitely not on anything streaming, because I've not seen that for a while. But yeah, if anybody gets a chance to, $6.99.
$6.49. Yeah,
$6.49. It's well worth checking out. It's just a really interesting, tight little thriller with a kind of a wacky killer in it, and a great Peter Coyote performance, and even a great Mel Smith performance, because the second half of the film's, well, the first half of the film's set in the States, and then the main guy in it has to sort of escape, and he comes over to the UK. So this is what I'm saying about it feeling like two separate films, and he sort of meets up with Mel Smith, who owns an abandoned fairground, and that sort of sets you up for the last act, where the killer ends up in the fairground.
It's got a really nice DVD cover.
Oh yeah, the cover's great. I've still got that. I'll never get rid of that tape. I mean, I probably can now because it's out on DVD, but I thought that I'd never get rid of that tape because I didn't think I'd ever be able to watch it again. But when you meet Mel Smith in that film as well, he's rubbing up against some sort of Cockney gangsters, and it's like a Cockney gangster with a jag, who sort of pulls up and says to him, "Do you know who I am?" And he says something like, yeah, I know you are. You're an old man with a car and a dog. Now fuck off. He's great. So go check that out. But what I was saying about Jagged Edge, Mark, is I think of it as I've always thought of it as a late 80s erotic thriller, just because that's how I remember it. So I think you're absolutely right. It's probably lumped in with a lot of things that it probably isn't. When you actually sit down and watch it, it's not that erotic. It's a romantic thriller to a degree, of course, because that ties into the plot and it ties into her perception of him. But from the outset, it's very clear that it's, you just look at it very quickly. It's clear that it wasn't made in the late 1980s. It's very clear it was made in the early 1980s. The look of it is a little bit closer to the 70s than it is to the 90s. So, but I can totally see why it would get sort of lumped into all those, lumped in with a bunch of other things. One thing I did notice as well, bit of a random point, young Jeff Bridges looks a little bit like and I've never noticed this before, young Jeff Bridges looks a little bit like he had a moustache and it's been badly CG'd out.
He does a little bit, yeah. I can see that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He does, like you look at it going, there's something missing from your face here. Maybe they should re-release it with a CG'd stash in.
Excellent. So
I'm saying I would still fucking pay good money to see the cut with the moustache in.
the Jagged Edge cut with the moustache.
Any cut. Just there should be a whole series of movies where people have just had moustaches put on them or facial hair taken off them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see a beard for. I want to see a beard-free Jeff Bridges in Iron Man. Because I want to see the full lip smack.
Yeah.
I want to see that whole lip smacking.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so is that it on Jagged Edge? Ian, have you got anything?
Yeah, I'd absolutely be playing it forward.
Stuff.
Yeah, I just to say I really enjoyed it. It did actually kind of keep me guessing. You know, they do kind of introduce a red herring with old tennis pro guy, but I don't know. Like I was kind of even right because I mean it really does keep you going because when she's like killed the intruder and then you hear someone coming up the stairs, even then I was like, shit, is that going to be Jeff Bridges? You know, it does keep you going. But that ending is, like you said earlier on, it feels like something that could have been in Dressed to Kill.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised that the rest of the film isn't that. Because going in, I kind of thought it was going to be... I mean, shit, what's the fucking... Oh, my God. Body double. Like, I kind of thought it was going to be a bit body double-y.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's...
No. The majority of it is the sort of tight courtroom stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, you know, that shit really does keep you guessing. Even though, you know, in the end of the day, all the men are right, and he was the wrong one, and it was her feelings clouding her judgment.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is an interesting thing there. I mean, yes, she does kill him, but yeah, okay.
It's also the second time she's kind of fucked up, really, as well, which is... I mean, she didn't fuck up last time. Necessarily, she just haunted her. So what drags her back is, you know, she wants to vindicate herself to a degree. She's had Peter Coyote's character sort of like, you know, in front of her and sort of rub her face in it, and she wants to shut him up, but she fucks up again because, like you say, she lets her feelings cloud her judgment. So yeah, I don't think you would get that. You would not get that in a modern day interpretation of this film.
No. Quite. No, exactly that. And it does,
but it is. Sorry, I was just going to say it is really worth it for that reveal, though. Mm-hmm. Like the typewriter reveal, I think is magnificent. Like I love that moment.
Yeah, with like the fucked up tea. You know, just like kind of the crescendo, like the climax towards that. Yeah. And
the way she looks up after she's typed it as well, with this just fucking horror. Like it's just and that's the moment that really feels very. I could just so imagine that being in a De Palma film.
I mean, like,
it is.
It almost feels like something like Argento would have done in like the Tenebrae era or something like that. You half expect him to be like revealed behind her or something. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's an interesting because I mean Richard Marquand, the director. I don't really know much of what he's done. So, you know, Return of the Jedi and this, you basically couldn't get two more different films.
Yeah. I have seen The Legacy, actually. I don't remember it, but I've definitely seen it because I've got it. It's one of the videotapes that I bought. Oh, yeah, it's that one with... Sam Elliott in it. Yeah, I vaguely remember it.
I've got to say as well, I actually mentioned this on the WhatsApp chat, but the HD version of it on iTunes is a really nice looking print of this film.
Yeah.
It did very, very well on the old 4K TV upscaled. So yeah, I can recommend that as well. I'm just stunned you hadn't seen this before, Mark.
Yeah, but yeah, like you say, it's always nice when you get something where you go, "Oh, yeah, that's well in my wheelhouse," and I haven't seen it, so yeah, I'm very much, I'm very glad I've seen it now.
It's just like I said to you guys, I think on WhatsApp as well. I thought this was going to be some sort of military action film involving helicopters or something. I don't know, Jagged Edge. It kind of just sounded like that was the name of a group of crack helicopter pilots. So I don't know. I literally rented it and I was like sat down. It was like, right, okay, I'm gonna have a bit of a cheesy 80s action film to settle on in with, and I read the fucking synopsis and it's like, right, this is going to be a different evening. And I mean, it was a good different evening, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't know, it made me laugh. It's well worth a watch though, fair play.
Yeah,
it's funny though, because I'm just looking at on the IMDb page, one of the taglines for it is, "When a murder case is this shocking, which do you trust, your emotions or the evidence?" Now, for me,
it's a bit of a spoiler that
she was and Glenn Close's character was very clearly operating on the evidence. Like, it was kind of, her emotions were being manipulated without her necessarily realizing it. Like, I think that's the interesting thing about the film and why it works and why it tricks you a little bit, is because you don't feel like she's being manipulated or like you're being manipulated, and it doesn't feel like it's intentionally wrong-footing you. It does feel genuine, and you don't know. I mean, you don't think he's done it, or I didn't think he'd done it. You know, it's interesting way of putting it in the tagline.
Good shit.
Okay, groovy. I think that's 3 successes then.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Good week. So all films, as always, readily available on iTunes, and we would recommend each and every one. So that's good. That's good. Did you put a call out for questions at all? Or?
I didn't know. I didn't. I actually forgot today. Apologies for that.
It's not good enough, Mark, but fine. Yeah, it'll do. So I guess we'll wrap it up there then. That was another episode of Dude and a Monkey Pay It Forward. Next time around, I guess I will be buying for Ian. Ian will be buying for Mark, and Mark will be buying for me. Is that right?
Ian's. Are we gonna? Should we divulge what we've bought for people, or what we will be buying for people?
We can. I have not made a decision just yet. I've not started running ideas by you, but by all means, the other two.
Go on.
Ian's already gifted me mine, which is quite nice.
Yeah, go on. What's that?
Yeah, so it's a film of this year, which I very much liked, and I'd like to get both of your opinions on it, actually. Asian action
The Florida
film,
Project.
The Villainess.
Yeah, I remember you creaming over that one at the time. So
yeah, 5 out of 5, probably be in my top 10 best action film of the year.
Nice. Very much looking forward to that. I was very happy when that email appeared. It was like, Ian has gifted you a movie. It's like, the shit. I looked at him like, oh, bravo.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and I will be gifting Noel the Richard Pryor movie Moving.
I'm very pleased about this because this is another one of those classic, like, wait a minute, why the fuck have I not seen this? I'm very pleased about that.
There's a specific moment in it, and I would like to put a call out to all of our listeners. Please do not spoil one of the cameos for Noel, because I have a feeling when he's watching it, I'm going to get a message saying, Oh, holy fuck! Did that just happen? Have you seen this, Ian?
No, but I'm gonna try and I'm not gonna say anything, but I'm gonna try and see who the cameo is.
Do you know what? I wouldn't, because the moment is fantastic. Not just the cameo, but the person's cameo and what he says is just perfect.
Okay.
See, the thing is, it's a Richard Pryor movie, so there's a few names that I've got in my head that it could be, but I would not spoil. I'll wait and see.
Yeah.
But it's a Richard Pryor movie I've not seen, and that's a gift. So yeah, that'll do. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, well, we shall wrap it up there then. I'm going to go off and probably treat myself to an episode of The Punisher because, as I was saying before, nice and slowly, episode by episode. There's no rush. Probably have a glass of wine as well because I'm not in work tomorrow. About yourself?
I am going to go and eat, and I think I'll be watching something. I'm not sure what. Probably a film of some description. Yeah, there's still time to watch a film because I'm also not at work tomorrow, as it stands, which could change at any point between now and tomorrow morning.
I'm going to try and finally complete the Apu trilogy, which I feel like I've been watching for the last 3 months, and it's completely my fault. I've got an hour left of the last one, and then I can actually finish this fucking thing.
Interestingly, how Noel opened the show is actually a discussion that I've actually done for my next Patreon show about Christmas movies and the argument behind what is and what isn't. So it's that in the sense that, yeah, it's me getting a little bit pissed off with people whinging.
Nice.
That's so weird because my original note for opening the show was something like, it's where is it? It's a place where dudes are monkeys are dudes, and no one think is a Christmas movie. Like, I genuinely wrote that down.
And what I'm doing, I'm essentially, I've got a Patreon show which hopefully it will go out tomorrow, basically discussing that very thing.
Excellent. Okay, well, without further ado then, thanks everybody for listening. Thank you very much, Marc and Ian, for having me as host again. And
thank you very much for hosting.
Nice.
We shall speak again very soon. Any superhero movies on the horizon I need to know about? I don't think so.
No, actually. I think we'll
February,
probably be quiet for a bit now, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be Deadpool, I think, won't it?
No, Deadpool's June.
Oh, shit, no, they moved it, didn't they? Yeah. I just automatically,
New Mutants in March, is it?
Yeah, when's Black Panther? That's
Black
why
Panther.
Oh, February.
Yeah.
Good shout.
Be Black Panther then. But yeah, I'm sure we'll chat before then anyway. So thanks very much, guys. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.